Excellent. I'm super excited about today. I've been networking with Jack for a little while now and really getting along with him. I really admire what he does, been keeping an eye out, and he's been on my list of guys that I'd like to get on and share with all my audience, which we was literally talking about beforehand. But what I'm going to do though is pass over to Jack. So I don't like to have a read up, I'll see what people's histories are, but I feel everybody explains their little quick short history of who they are, what they do, and what led them into property better than I could ever do with that. So Jack, I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and yeah, really looking forward to this.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so am I. I mean, I always struggle with like intros and stuff, and whether to go like super quick because no one really gives a shit today, or give some sort of depth. I don't know. I get bored of people's intros, so I think just me. I'm just like, I'll just get through it, give you the basics, and then we can move forward with the rest of it. So yeah, I've been in property just over 8 years now, full time. Sort of fell into it originally. Bought my first flat, which turned out to be a repo. And so straight away was almost created in the way we purchased it. I had to be on the agent because they had to obviously post it on local groups and things like that. So I had to be on it, building rapport with the agent. And she eventually said, well, I'm not going to push this to anyone else because us in the office, we want you to have it. And that was my first experience of the power of rapport and just property in general. So that flat did us amazingly well. A little 1-bed flat we got, and we sold it probably I think we must have been there for 4 years in the end, and it was 100 grand more than we paid for it originally, just on a little 1-bed flat. So sort of I really enjoyed the process. And so my older brother, he was buying a flat at the same time, actually, in the same block, weirdly. And we just saw, we used to work together in the pub, so we used to get the training together. And he was reading through the Metro, and one of these free 3-day property trainings came up. Never seen anything like it, so we were like, yeah, sweet, let's go to one of them. And as much as we did get sold to, as you'd expect, the click for me, I've always been entrepreneurial, but never known where to put that entrepreneurial spirit. I've done everything you can imagine, failed clothing companies, absolutely everything you can think of. And it was when they told us about the fact you can refinance based on the new value of a property, that you can force that value into that property and then refinance all your money out of it. That was, to me, I was like, bang, it makes sense to me. I now know how people amass such portfolios without being multi-millionaires. All of a sudden I was like, that is it. And it literally, ever since that, it's the first time I've ever had any kind of clarity on anything. It was just that I am now a property guy, and that will be my business essentially.
Fantastic. And what a great intro. I'm going to ask you some more questions around that, but yeah, that was a real penny drop for me as well. I think I got to the first thing I ever done, I bought a piece of land as my first ever investment. I was thinking I was going to do. How did I do?
As you do.
Terribly. I lost money on it. I didn't develop it. I lost money on it. My ambition was way above my skill level and my courage at the time. I remember I went to auction, and it's kind of a bit of a side tangent, but I went to the auction and I literally stuck my hand up on, like, he went 29 and a half, 30, and I put my hand up. But he started at 32 and he come down, started getting bids at 29 and a half and 30. I put my hand up and the hammer felt like, literally, as my hand went like, it felt like, boom, yours. I was like, wow, sweet. Got a piece of land. Absolutely crapped myself once I got it. Got in far too deep over my head with that. But then, how many years after buying it? Probably about 5-6 years after buying it, I got myself in a bit of a financial pickle, and I was like, right, I need to sell this bit of land. Went back to the same auctioneer, and he went to me, yeah, what we do, I remember that it was a bit difficult to sell. What we'll do is we'll bounce a few dummy bids off the wall and get the bids going in now, and we'll probably be able to get something going with it. And I was thinking, that seems pretty familiar. I'm pretty sure that's what you've done to me. But yeah, I lost money on it. I sold it at a loss. I lost money on the planning application. I lost money on clearing the land. Yeah, it was a loss, but it got me started. So in one sense, it was a loss. Well, in another sense, it got me started. But I didn't know anything about property, no education. I hadn't been at a seminar, never read a book. I then went to, after that, I bought a buy-to-let. And once I bought my third deal, that I realised the buy refurb remortgage strategy. I was like, oh wow, like this is pretty cool. And same for you. That penny dropped and made me realise this is achievable, because I had a decent sized plot when I started, and I'd done 2 deals on the amount of money. Bought the land and the second deal. I didn't have enough money for my third, and I was thinking, how am I going to keep on funding this? And I come across a guy, and he's talking about other people's money. He was talking about yield, which I should have known what a yield was before I bought 2 properties, especially a piece of land to develop. But yeah, hey ho. Let's get into your bit then. So one of the things that resonated with me is the first sort of deals, you went straight in with no money. So you understood that concept of raising finance. You always get asked this. I get asked this a lot as well. Like, so people say, they say it's hard to raise money if you haven't got, it's like when you come out of college, like they say you need experience. You just trained, you need experience. And it is, without a shadow of doubt, I'm not going to paint no false dreams for anybody. I've seen people that raise money with 0 property experience previously, but they are exceptions to the rule because they put the effort in. And it's not exceptions of the rule because they're exceptional. It's just because they just follow the rules of what you have to do, in my experience, where most people give up too quick or just don't do what you're meant to do. But can you explain and break down this myth for people? It can be done, and how you done it, and how you structured it, and what you done to attract your first bit of private finance, and how your first deal looked.
Yeah, it is a funny one, isn't it? And I get that question all the time. How you because I basically, again, going back to my story, we did a project initially where we raised £80,000 for the first project. It was a block of flats, went really well. We recently sold it and paid today, actually.
Oh, did you? Congratulations.
We bought that at 250 and it just sold at auction at 477. 6 years later. And yeah, I'd been to one course, but I was so fucking sure that I knew everything there was to know about property, and that confidence just comes out. And obviously I didn't. The following project we lost a big sum of money on. But that's one thing I would say to most people is, if I was just, like I said, in that room where I learned about property, I knew that property was my thing, and that was it. So I was committed. That was me. My persona changed in that room to a property person, and that was what I was going to be. So anyone I spoke to, I'm a property investor, shake hands. People always get embarrassed by saying that when they haven't got a property or they're new to it. It's a mindset. It's not the fact you've got things or whatever. It's like you become that person, and you go in, you shake that hand hard when you're speaking to people, and you talk with confidence, and the stuff you've read in books and all the theory, you talk that. And the second part of that, as well as coming across confident and knowledgeable, is rapport. Again, go back to it. People want to work with people. If you guys speak to a millionaire, yes, obviously, he's not going to go chucking his money in because he likes you. He wants to know that the project's good and you're going to be able to deliver it. But ultimately, if he's umming and ahhing, but he really likes you and gets on with you and he almost wants to give you a chance, he's going to give you a chance. He or she. To be careful these days. It's one of those. I look at it all the time. Loads of mistakes I've made, especially with tenants, when you kind of build rapport with those guys, and you're like, oh, you're late on the rent, are you? Well, do you know what? Get on with you. Give you a chance. And it always turns out to be the wrong choice. But just make sure on your side when you're borrowing money that you are genuinely sure and it's not false confidence. Go through the figures with other people. There's groups like Harvey's. Your group's amazing. We were talking about it off air, that you've got so much help in there and people getting involved. There's no reason why you need to particularly spend money on expensive coaching or anything like that if you've got the confidence and the ability and the understanding of where you want to go and what you want to do, because you can just chuck some figures for a deal in a Facebook group or any of them, or speak to some people that you know within your network, and they're going to give you an honest opinion. And then once you get that, then you go all in with it and just go and get the money. The money is everywhere. I talk about it all the time. Before I've had about a month off, but I normally go on sort of morning walks where I listen to my audiobooks and stuff like that. And you walk down roads, they're a mile long, and every house on there is £1 million. That's one small road in an area that you lot have probably never even heard of. And you'll all have your own roads, and you just think about how much money is where you live. And a lot of those people don't have the knowledge of property, can't be asked with property, quite frankly, because it is a ball ache. And you provide a solution. You're providing a good return, or a property deal, whatever it is you're providing or offering them. It's going to be an amazing service. And that's something, again, mindset-wise, that people don't think. They think the investor's doing them a favour, not the other way around. my thought process has always been, I'm making you 10%, 15%, 20% on your money while you sit there and do fuck all. I'm dealing with all the hassle of builders, tenants, all that stuff I'm dealing with. And I'm not even going to tell you about the problems. I'm just going to deliver you your money when I told you I would. And so that is a service, and people get that confused and think that the investor is the one who's giving the service almost.
Yeah, for sure. I say to people that there's major elements. I call it a triangle. There's three major things. There's something that sits right in the middle. So you need time. You need not time. Sorry, you need knowledge. You need network, and you need money. So, and right in the middle of them, sorry, what I said at the start is time. It sits in the middle. So sometimes you've got the knowledge, you've got the network, but you've not got the time to implement what you're going to do. But you can just have one of those. So if you go off and really knowledge yourself, and knowledge and network's worth so much more than the money part of it. And this is where everybody gets confused. People with money sometimes think they hold all the cards. It's like, look, let's just not mix this up. If you could do this without me, there's no way you're going to give me this money and spend, like, share half of it or only have a small percentage. You'll be off doing it. You can't. And your money, what's your money doing elsewhere? So again, having that belief and that mindset around that, knowing that they don't hold all the cards, it's a quite an important element. Having obviously money, but if you've got knowledge and network, which you can do without money, you can build it up without money, and yeah, that really push you forward. I make notes with these all the time, and what I've got at that, it's that belief, you know, like having that belief and confidence and risk comes with knowledge. Really, knowledge is not always power. Knowledge is only potential power. The biggest power becomes in the execution of that. But again, what I read from what you're just saying now and what I'm listening from it and what I've done from following you is it's that execution. You went off, you done something, you learned something, and you executed. You went, right, okay, I'm going to go and execute and put it into action. So many people, this is why I say it is more than doable to raise finance with no experience. But it's exception of the rules. And the only reason it's an exception is not because people are exceptional, it's because they just execute what they're meant to do. And they don't give up. They just go, Joe, what, I'm going to do this until I find something that works. And you said that earlier on as well. So many people, they'll look at this and they think, well, I'm going to be a property investor. And then the next minute they're going to be a Bitcoin trader. Next minute they're going to be e-commerce, and they just don't give it that momentum and commitment to it. But yeah, great answers there.
I mean, the other thing, just you sort of made me think on that is if you're going into confidence with everything, you've also got to be confident when you lose, and you've got to own that loss. So you guaranteed anyone who hasn't started in property, you're going to lose money and you're going to fuck something up. Guaranteed. It might be small, it might be big like mine, which was 6 figures. But whatever happens, you have to own it. That's the biggest thing for me is when I lost that money originally on a block of flats. I did no due diligence. I did no, I didn't get any builders quotes for work. So like, it was just, and I can't believe how many rookie mistakes I made. And for a good while, I blamed Hastings. Shit, I'll never go in there again. Like, it must be there. There's something wrong with that place. Or the agent that sold me the deal, the owner of the property who sold me the deal. You know, all of these things, you come out of excuses. And it wasn't until, you know, a few months down the line that I just kind of went, well, do you know what? It was me. It wasn't anybody else. It was me. I made the mistakes initially. Yes, I could have got lucky. The market could have done me a favor, and I could have got lucky with it. Yes, someone could have advised me, or the agent could have advised me better. But ultimately, that's not their problem. I've got to put my money into that, and other people's money, and that what came of it was my fault. And a lot of people don't do that. They will continue to blame others and luck and other stuff. And if you do that, you will quit in property, I think, because you're going to get problems that aren't your fault. Shit happens in property that nobody can, you know, mitigating risk is so difficult, because every project you do, you find a new thing that is potentially losing you money and nobody else has ever heard of it. It's like every time I do a project and I speak to someone, they're like, oh, never heard of that before. Oh, good. I found a new one. Brilliant. But yeah, like I say, just if you go into confidence and be confident when you win and be confident when you lose.
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, I make notes when I'm speaking to people. Yeah, look, confidence as well in the stuff you don't know. You don't have to know everything. This is what I find a lot of people holds them back. They go, I say, listen, if you're just speaking to me and you're in these network groups, you got to imagine what a minority, not the majority. So you know more than potentially most people that you know in your network. So you know more than you realize you know. So but be confident in what you don't know. You don't have to know everything. You just say, I'm not sure about that. Joe, what, in my network, I've got my partner, I've got a guy that I network with, I'll find the answer out to that. And just be confident in when you do or don't know. Don't try to think you know everything. But I guarantee most people, what they do know is more than the people they're around anyway, who they're probably going to raise money from.
Don't get me started with that. I mean, I've sat in a lot of rooms, obviously, with getting educated and what have you. And there's always that one, isn't there, who's asking questions. They know the answer. They almost ask the question with the answer. They go, yeah, that's right. Oh, thank you. You knew full well. So why are we still here at 7 p.m. an hour later than we're supposed to be? Because you're asking questions you know the answer to. But I always find it with people overcomplicate property. And it's something I've always tried to do is simplify things. It's like, oh, a lease option's really complicated. Well, no, it's not. It's not. You're just leasing the property with an option to purchase it. All that shit in between, that's solicitor's job. That's why you went to uni and will be like paying it off forever and going to work 7 days a week. That's their job. And it's to say, accountants. The fact that property people are buying a book on tax and accounting is absurd to me. To think that that book has the answer to your very, very specific tax situation is madness to me. Get a good accountant, get a good tax advisor, and let them do their fucking job. And you go and get properties and raise finance for those properties. That's your job. And just do more of that. It amazes me. It annoys me a little bit. As you can
I'll get you with that. Funny enough, it's right here. I must admit, I did read.
Oh no!
Interesting tax, but look, it's a really thin book. I kind of agree with you to a certain degree, but
basic
quick little read through this was, and this was in. When was this? This was in 2016. It's because it gave me a base understanding to sit in front of a tax specialist. Because the problem sometimes is, I remember going to a network event and I've never worked for anybody in my life, I've had a few odd jobs for a few months here and there, a couple in a factory when I was a kid and things like that, but never really worked and got into that corporate world or working world. And I remember going to a network event. It's a business one, not a property. I shook somebody's hand. She went, "Oh, I'm HR." And I was standing there. Do you know that being confident in what you don't know? I was like, what is that? What's HR? And I'm like, the conversation in my head was going, do I just ask her, admit that I don't know what it is? Or do I ask some leading questions to see if I can figure out what it is? And I thought, do you know what? Just get out your own way. I don't know what it is. I said, sorry, I don't know what that is. And then she asked me about where I was in my business as well. She was like, you've got employees, you've hired, well, you really need to sit down with a HR specialist. So I booked a meeting in with her. And straight away, what she was telling me was credible because she was confident. And she delivered some really, really good stuff, So she was confident and competent. But I didn't know. I said to her, look, she went, do you want to sign up? I said, I need to triangulate a little bit. I need to understand. Like my old accountant delivered me some stuff really confidently, but he didn't really not fully know what he was talking about. And if I didn't have an idea what I was talking about, I would have just gone, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the important part, though, isn't it? Is getting a good accountant who is, people always go, well, he's a mate of mine. It's been a family. There's always a family accountant, isn't there? That seems to know nothing about anything. But yeah, you've got to be specific and just ask around and get the good ones, because they will be well worth their weight in gold, and they'll save you a load of hassle and probably jail time.
Yeah, but again, the power of network. Listen, Facebook and online and these online forums, Instagram, all this has been an absolute game changer in business and especially property. I'm a remote investor and I was doing it before I was online, but once I got online, like, your network is your net worth. It's a cliche saying, it's a cheesy saying, but it's 100% correct. Like any business is down to networks, and like we've never met, and I'm already getting along with you and getting to know you and getting to understand you. So that ability to go online, and again now in 2016 I wasn't online. If I wasn't actually using it properly. So today I'll probably take that back a little bit. You could go into these property groups, exactly what you said at the start, say anybody got any recommendations for a decent tax accountant, speak to 3 or 4 of them so you can triangulate, see what they're telling you, ask people's opinions, and away you go. And I say to people, I think Facebook for network building is the most powerful platform out of them all, because there's already groups that's accumulated in your subject and topic. Like if you go on Instagram or LinkedIn, you've got to build a following, which might take you a long while, where on Facebook you can just go straight in a group with 40,000 people, all like-minded people, and just straight in there and ask questions.
Yeah, I agree. I was speaking to my my group about this last night, and they were saying, I'm going to co-deal source for now. but I still want to build up my own investor list. So when I become compliant, I can then sell to them. How do I do it? And as I was saying about, you know, do it online at the moment because we can't go physical networking, the more I was like, physical networking shit in the property sort of, this is a property networking event, which is essentially you go there, you meet all the people you met last month and you find out what they've been doing that month. You sit down, you listen to someone, the host selling books and whatever other shit they've got to sell. And then they invite the people that have paid to be on there who then sell you more shit. Then you've got the speaker who goes and speaks, gives you a few little bits, but then sells more shit. And then it's 9 o'clock at night and you're in central London. It's going to take you an hour to get back. And it's like, I'd be lucky if I met one person who was of value to me for that evening, because I'm always the one who gets the numpty who doesn't really know why he's there as well, who also doesn't understand when someone's trying to get away and talk to other people. I always get that guy every time. You know, I've just not got it in me to go, do you know what? I don't think I can be of help to you, and I don't think you can be of help to me. I think it's probably best if we go on and talk to other people. I'd love to be able to do that. I just can't do it.
Is it the subtle, yeah, and you're looking like, oh, sorry, yeah. Just,
oh, yeah. No, but on, like, sort of going off tangent now, I actually think that if you do it in the right way, in the right structured way, online networking can be more beneficial, because it's almost like speed dating. You can see from someone's profile whether they are actually of use to you and you're of use to them. So you could filter out 90% of a room straight away and go, okay, I'll target 10 people and I'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
In the room, you don't do that. They should do that. And they don't. I don't know why they don't sort of go, well, you're here for money or deals. Thank you. Money or deals or whatever it is you're here for. And then go, oh, well, you need to speak to Joe over there because he does this and he's a broker in this. And they should connect people and make sure that you actually do get benefit from it. But none, in my experience, have done that.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they had the sticker on front of them, wouldn't it, with their profile on there.
How hard is it to do? Like, when people buy a ticket, tell us what you're going for.
But I 100% agree with you. Online is like networking on steroids. I do feel there is some sort of benefit of networking in person, but I think I know for a fact, this is not even an opinion, and I very rarely will say a fact unless I know it's a fact. You know, sometimes it's my opinion and sometimes it's a fact, and this is a fact. Look, if you go to a network event, let's say you meet one, or maybe say you meet three, you're lucky, there's 3 people in there of benefit to you. You've got to meet them, you've got to talk to them. You then got to go away, you've got to then email them, you've got to follow up with them, get on the phone. Like, and it takes, they say, influence, the book says it takes 7 touch points. Google's saying now it takes 11 to 12 touch points. As you said, online, you just check people out. They check your video out. Like, for me, with you, my touch points got built way before I ever spoke to you for the first time. Then touch points was me watching your content and watching your stuff, diving in swimming pool, showing us the back of your buttocks, things like that.
It was my hand, I swear.
It's your hand. But that was the touch points. And then when we spoke on Messenger, some more touch points. And then we spoke on the phone and then in Clubhouse. And here we are sort of with this, you know. But then touch points, that trust got way built, where if I just met you at a network event, I'd have met you once, I'd have to go away, I'd have to phone you up and build them touch points up. So yeah, you can so much more multiply this. You've got to take it offline at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say that you'll never replace, and that's what we've realised from lockdowns and what have you, isn't it? You're never going to replace the energy you get from someone. And it's like you say, you're getting most of the preamble done online. And then when you meet, you're almost going to go in for a hug rather than a handshake and an official thing. Do you know what I mean? Because you feel like you know each other, and then you sit over a beer and have a proper conversation, and it's just how you can go in with a deeper conversation from the off when you meet in person, rather than starting with all the bullshit and going through this, that, and the other. I mean, sometimes you meet someone and you get that energy, and you're like the stars have aligned. We're going to get on. This is going to work in person. But then, like you say, afterwards, you're then doing all the online stuff to then sort out a meeting again or whatever. I do think it's, if done right, it's definitely more beneficial and a much more efficient way of meeting the people that you need to meet. People in property like to be busy, especially when they start. I mean, obviously, I've been to 7 networking events this week. It's like, well, what actual tangible result do you have from those 7 evenings you've not been with your family? Like, what can you show for that? because that's everything I always do. Is if I'm going to be out of an evening, I'm not going to get to put my little boy to bed. There better be a benefit that is going to benefit him eventually in terms of my business growing or adding something to us as a family. And people seem to take that for granted, especially at the start, how much time things take and how inefficient they can be just so they can post about how much stuff they're doing to the 5 followers they've got, because they haven't spent enough time on social media to actually connect with the people that they should be connecting with.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bitchy mood today. This week, actually, it seems like I've got the bitchiness come back to me today.
It's just come back. It's just delivered. That's time for me. That's really welcome. But going back to like the social media and everything, what importance do you place on that as well now going forward? You've got a brand now. You're getting what's the name? I ask this question quite often. The importance you place on that. Yeah, let's ask that question first. Sorry, I won't mix it into two.
The importance. It's my job, basically. I'm still a property person. I still structure deals. I still run coaching programs, and we're still acquiring stuff and doing creative deals. But predominantly, it is me bringing people into our space, investors and clients for our coaching. That's it. So social media is what I do, and it's pretty much the only way to bring clients in. Public speaking and social media are probably the best ways. Writing books and things like that. They're all there as well. Just again, building that brand. But we spoke about this before, didn't we? You got to pick your battles. You've got to stick to something. I stuck to everything I stick to, and I ignore everything else goes well. When I bounce around things and I try and do too many things, I get nowhere. So rent to rent was my initial strategy. Someone told me, right, you've got to do that because you've got to replace your income. I put the blinkers on, and in 12 months I had 12 properties, and I'd got myself and my brother out of our jobs. And then I went into deal sourcing, commercial conversions, everything else. And I had a year of kind of nothingness and had no growth because I was trying to do everything. And every person selling their specific strategy had such a good point. I was like, that's definitely for me. Forget the last one I went on. That was definitely for me as well. And yeah, it's marketing for investors is extremely important. And something I've realized is we deal source predominantly 10-year guaranteed lease deals. So they're completely recession proof and come with these bulletproof leases that mean it's just as hands free as you can get. And I feel like I post about them a lot. And I'm like, I can't keep repeating myself all the time. And then I'll put another story up, and someone who's been following me for ages, oh, I didn't know you were doing this. I'm like, what's going on? So it is difficult, but I think people put themselves under too much pressure with social media as well. It's meant to be a bit of fun, regardless of it being my job. And I want to get results ultimately. I found when I was overthinking social media, times to post, I need to post at least once a day, 3 stories a day, this a day, that a day. The more I put pressure on it, the less I actually got results, because it was coming across in my videos and my content, the frustration of me having to do the post. And it's like, you have to enjoy it for people to want to watch it and to get value from it. It's not just delivering something, it's actually giving value to someone and entertainment, which is the difficult kind of thing. You don't want to be boring like most of the property educators out there, the geography teachers, I call them.
Yeah, that's it. So many people talk about social media and they think it's just a case of, let's open an Instagram account, let's open a Facebook business page, and that's it. Business has come flooding to me, but there's a little bit in between you have to do. There's so much noise out there today that you do have to deliver it correctly. You do have to understand what to do and how to do.
Understand the demographic is something as well, really important. So, I mean, I'm big on TikTok at the moment. Everyone's gone on to Clubhouse because it gives them followers, but TikTok by far will kill the growth of Clubhouse all day long. But it's a younger demographic.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone thinks that they're these young 16-year-olds that care about dancing. They're not. They're very switched on individuals that are starting businesses and making money at a very young age. I mean, I'm at 15K. I've been doing it for under a year. And it's growing at about 1,000 a week at the moment because I've been doing 3 a day. But I understand that demographic is not for investors. That demographic is to bring people into my coaching program, which is built for young people. Instagram is a very in-between at the moment. You're going to get investors in there, and we've had quite a few buy deals from Instagram, and we've had quite a few invest money into us through Instagram. but equally people coming onto our program through Instagram, because it's still a young thing. It's kind of like the mecca of social media, Instagram, isn't it? And I was lucky enough to sort of commit to Instagram a few years ago, with the help of my mate Chris Taylor, and built a following quite quickly. So I've kind of just kept that. But I mean, in the last year, it's grown 1,000, whereas it grew about 1,000 a month before. But then you've got LinkedIn, the worst platform in the world, hate it. So I don't really do much on there. It bores me to death. And I look at no messages, because every single one is someone pitching me something from day one. But ultimately, you're going to find money there. It's going to be that demographic of people that don't really understand property but want to invest. And then Facebook groups, you're going to find investors predominantly there. You are going to find clients for coaching, things like that. But I think predominantly that's going to be your way to find investment, for me.
Yeah, network for me. I think Facebook's fantastic for networking with other people and in your industry. But yeah, really, really interesting points where it is so important to understand that demographic. I posted a TikTok video the other day. I just see somebody do a video about TikTok and how to make one. I just went, no, let's just go on there and see if I can make one of these videos. And it's just a little, like, the Reels style videos. And I was amazed. I've got no followers whatsoever. I think I've got one follower now on there. I've got one follower. And these videos are like, had 700 views. I posted it into I only started Instagram last year. And I posted it in my Instagram. And I got something, I think I've got 700 views on that one in TikTok with one follower. I've got 1,300 followers in Instagram. I've only been on there for a little while. But yeah, I think I've got something like 150 followers. I'm like, how does that work out? You know, like, for the last 6 months, I've been posting on Instagram every day, and the momentum's starting to pick up with Instagram. I'm like, I've got 0 followers in TikTok, and I've got 700 views.
That's why it's amazing, though. You get the right video. I did a video about the property I lost money on, and it had 130,000 views with 12,000 followers I had at the time. 130,000 views, and the comments were crazy. And yeah, I mean, I do a poll on there, and it has like 20,000 votes on a poll, compared to, like you say, Instagram. It's just nothing. And obviously you want to make sure that it's a difficult one. It's a younger demographic, and if that's what you're selling to, then you cannot be missing it. But if you also want to grow your Instagram, it filters right into your Instagram and your YouTube. I know guys on there. I mean, one guy that I did an interview with him, I think it must have been about 9 months ago. He had 40,000 followers on there. Today, he's just gone past the 500,000 mark. Wow. And he filters them into his YouTube, which now has 10,000 subscribers. So it's like...
So how do you structure the content on TikTok? I'm glad you come onto this, because it's not on my thing, but I love going on off-piste with these interviews. So what sort of structure, like, you know, you said the demographic and the structure, like, of videos on Instagram is a bit different from your podcast, a bit different from your Facebook content. So what, I know you talked about how you lost money on that, but you just do a video?
There's loads of really cool things you can do. So you can superimpose images behind. So I had the picture of the building behind, and I said, I lost £100,000 on this deal. Or again, you can be quite clickbaity with it, because you've got to grab attention in the first second, because they're just scrolling. And I'm quite sort of polarizing anyway. I'll use that word rather than offensive. But yeah, I find the more polarizing you can be, the better, because people comment and go, no, you're wrong. No, you can't do that. Yes. And then they'll be arguing between each other, going, yes, you can. I've done this. So I did one about 16-year-olds saying that they can't, because I was talking about rent to rent, and it got a load of views, and lease options got a load of views. And people were like, oh yeah, good one, because a 16-year-old's got £5,000 in their bank account to do a rent to rent deal, haven't they? So everyone was like, well, I'm 16 and I've just saved up 10 grand doing X, Y, Z. And they're all sort of like going at each other in between. I did another video being like, why, because you're 16, do you not think you can raise money? Go and get a job, go and wash cars, you know, that sort of thing. And you just sort of build a following. But yeah, short, snappy. I do really basic stuff, talking about what is leasehold, what is freehold, and kind of educate them with really short videos. And then the thing that people like the most, a lot of property accounts on TikTok are doing really well, showing a refurb, or this house I bought for 100 grand, we spent 50, and they do a walkthrough of it. and now it's at 200 grand, or, you know, here's how I raised finance for this, and actually show proof. People like proof because there's a lot of bullshitters on there. So if you can show your bank account that shows 100 grand going into it from the latest flip you did, then they're like, okay, shit, this bloke actually knows what he's talking about, and he's not Samuel Leeds.
But with it, I noticed there's not much room for putting, like, you can't put in a description much. So
no, the best way to do it is to just use description for hashtags, and then be the first comment. So the minute your video uploads, be the first comment, writing whatever you want to write.
Okay, little masterclass on TikTok.
There you go. And then and make sure it's a question, so that people who go to comment answer your question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. I'm gonna have a little play about with that. I've done a few. Just, you know, when you go into the app and you can just do like messing around, like videos of, I showed like a kitchen and it just done it in the pictures with the music.
Yeah.
Those. I was thinking, how do I translate that now into actually content videos, sort of thing? Because they're quite cool for people to watch, but they're not gonna trans.
You just have to have substance behind anything you post. So it's like, rather than saying, I don't know, rather than rent to rent deal, my latest rent to rent deal is the title, people aren't going to really respond to that. But you could do how I turned 5 grand into £1,000 a month for the next 3 years, or something like, and they're like, oh shit, I need to learn that. So it's kind of like learning how to title the videos that capture attention straight away, and then they learn about rent to rent, because they might not know what rent to rent is, but if you give them the result of rent to rent, they want to know about it. So
do you do it in app? Do you know, you said about the backgrounds and things like that? Do you do that within app?
Yeah, I prefer recording in app, because you can hold the button down and then take your hand off, and then it will sort of stop the video, and then you can do different sections of it. So you don't have to do one big long video. Stops you doing like a whole minute and then fucking it up right at the end, which I always do. So you can just hold a little bit and go, here's how I made 5 grand on a rent to rent deal. Stop recording. I did this. And then you can actually, on each section of that video that you've done, you can put a new image in the back. Or you could just have you. So you could originally have the property, but then you could go, and then we installed a new kitchen, and then the next section would be the kitchen in there, and you can kind of take them along the story like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, you're giving me some food for thought on that. Just looking at the time, I know you've got to get off today. So I want to ask you around this recession-proof investing. You kind of touched on it a little bit. I've been sort of following you and seeing it, but can you share with my audience and everybody else that'll be watching and listening to this, what strategies are you taking on? You say you don't like tenants. You say you're selling up. I know you've been selling up at the moment.
Even though I am one now. Yeah. It's it just made me realise, I mean, like we talked about, you know, the confidence of nothing's going to go wrong, and as long as there's money in it, I don't care, I'll do anything. You quickly realise that tenants can be your worst nightmare. Even I wouldn't say I've had the worst, but we've had 6 months empty where they changed the locks on our house, and we had to take them to court. We're still owed 6 grand as and when the guarantor decides to sell their house. We've had people just randomly just leave with all their shit in their house, and we haven't been able to get into it for 2 months. And, you know, all of a sudden you just start to go, is it worth it for the 300 quid a month that I'm getting cash flow, because it gets eaten up and all this stuff? So yeah, we've sold up everything. Our whole portfolio is sold up. My personal home has been sold. I'm now living in rental. It's a nice rental, so don't feel sorry for me. With the idea that we reinvest all the money into recession-proof strategies, whatever that may be. So we've chosen our sourcing company. We are specific in renting to 10-year guaranteed leases, which are government-backed. So they're slightly less than the LHA rate, but we'll do HMOs to bolster that up. And they'll guarantee for 10 years that you get your income, and they will do all the maintenance, all the management in that period, and they'll return the property in its original condition at the end of that lease. And we're looking at returns of anywhere from 15% return on your capital. So it's and upwards to sort of 25. So your money's back in 4 or 5 years tops, and you've got literally, it is the most passive. Everyone always asking for passive property strategies. It's the most passive you're going to get in property, I believe. It's essentially an FRI lease. So yeah, we source them, and we're sort of buying them ourselves. I'm using the money from the house sale to put them into the family portfolio to pay our rent, essentially. And then we've also got the 2 squared model, which is, I've just renamed the 2+2. A lot of people would have heard 2+2. It's a strategy which we use housing benefit essentially, and we can double the income of a single let house, meaning no licenses, don't have to pay bills, don't have to furnish it, really low level refurb, and we get to house 2 people that currently have no option but to live in a bedsit or something of poor quality. And it's really strange. We've got a 2 squared is essentially, the government decided that if you're over 35 and single and you have access to 2 rooms within a shared house, sole access to 2 rooms within a shared house, they will pay the 1 bedroom non-shared rate. So you get 2 of them in there, therefore 2+2. You get 2 times the 1 bedroom non-shared rate.
So when you say access to 2 rooms non-shared, so what do you mean? A bedroom?
So basically, let's say you've got a 3 bedroom, your standard 3 bed house, downstairs separate living room. What you'd do is you'd give the box room and the biggest room to tenant 1. He has sole access to those 2 rooms. The other tenant, they're locked. He can't get to them. The other tenant has the downstairs room and the other room upstairs. He has sole access to them. The other tenant doesn't. But they share kitchen and bathroom and garden.
So how do you sort of persuade tenants? Like, is it tenants that come together that know each other already, or do you get completely separate tenants? How do you?
So they are separate. In the perfect ideal, which is not as rare as you think it is siblings who are on. So they have to be on separate benefit claims. They can't be on joint benefit claims. They have to be on separate, and over 35 and single, obviously, or friends. You get a lot of friends that are sort of want to live together anyway. They're the ideals, because then you don't have to worry about the dynamic. But generally speaking, they don't see each other in the house anyway, because the reason that they do the whole 2 room thing is because one of them's your bedroom, one of them's your living space. So you've almost got your own living area, and all you're doing is sharing the kitchen and the bathroom. They'll go and put a microwave and a fridge in their own living space anyway. So again, they're probably not going to use the kitchen. They're just going to share the bathroom, which you'd have to be pretty unlucky to have the exact same piss or shit every day.
But so when you're marketing for them, though, do you know, like, would you market it like, kind of like a HMO, like shared? Like, if you didn't get sisters or brother and sisters or siblings, or you didn't get friends, would you market it as a shared? Like would you get one tenant move out particularly, then you have to try and find a new one, and would you market it as a shared, like a occupancy?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be shared occupancy. You're just sharing with one other. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. But I mean, everyone always looks at that side of it. What if one leaves and blah blah blah? And it sounds super complicated. It's not that complicated. And you know, in what was it, March or April, when we first went into lockdown, there was something like 1 million or more housing benefit claims went in the minute that hit. 1 million more than there already was, and there was already a fucking lot of them. So it's kind of, for me, it's amazing. We've essentially, the reason 2+2 model went south and nobody did it anymore was because the government decided that they'd pay the benefits directly to the tenant to then pay the landlord, which meant landlords weren't getting paid. So everyone went, well, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not chasing payments. But they've made it super simple using something called a UC47 form. It's an online form you fill out, and they just type in a few bits and say, I want to pay the landlord direct, and it's done. And we get paid direct now. So tenants are paying us direct. They pay the bills. We don't have to pay any bills at all. They pay the equivalent to, I think between them is about 20% of the normal council tax rate, but they pay that. That's in their names. All the utilities go on meters, so they pay that between them as well. Like I say, no fire eggs, no licenses, no special mortgages. It's just super easy. My business partner Kevin has converted 40 or 50 of his HMOs into 2 squared deals, and the difference between what he makes each month is very small, but the hassle is nothing, because 2 tenants compared to 4 is a huge difference. And these guys are over 35. They're going to be a lot more settled, and most of his tenants have been there 5 years plus. They don't want to move. Once they've got, think about these people who are obviously, I don't know, they may have sort of some minor learning difficulties. They may just be unemployable. They may have sort of minor disabilities, which doesn't allow them to work, etc. And they're not going to work. They will be on benefits their whole life. And all their other options are bed sits and hostels And to go and say to them, well, would you like to share with someone else? You're going to get 2 rooms yourself. All you're going to share is the bathroom and kitchen. But then you've got your living space downstairs, likely, there'll be some, and a lovely garden for you to spend time in that's private to you two. It's a stark difference between what they're used to. So they tend to respect it a hell of a lot as well, and they treat it as their own. So you don't actually get much in the form of turnover or damage. I mean, most people are really scared of housing benefits. They think, well, the damage they're going to cause because they're wrong-uns. It's just not the case. It's way too general, and we've got really sort of strong systems and processes to make sure that we get the good guys, and we're not going to get the ones that are going to cause problems.
Yeah, for sure. We deal with housing benefits, and again, it's just filtering it out. You get good and bad in both housing benefits and working benefits. You just make sure you've got to filter them out correctly.
You might get unlucky. You might get unlucky, and someone who was all right took a turn.
Yeah,
causes issues. But like I say, I've dealt with it all with single let so-called professionals and families and all that stuff as well. So I don't think it's the demographic particularly that's going to give that's going to be more worrying than another. It's just making sure you do your research right. At least you don't have to worry about affordability because they ain't got any money, so you don't have to go through that.
But I can see the appeal for it from HMOs. I've got 2 HMOs, done over 80 deals, and I've never warmed towards HMOs. Would I buy another HMO? Maybe, but it's not something I rush out to do. Just the hassle with that. It comes with a trade-off, and some people say I would outsource it to a manager. You still, the questions and everything, even when you have a manager manage something for you, the responsibility lands on you. Unless it is, I rent to Mears and got them 10 years fixed deals as well, and they are exactly that. You just go, boom, here you go, see you later, done. And they are the most passive form of income that I receive. I went them to a few other housing providers that don't take on the maintenance, and I'm taking them back off of them. They're a pain in the arse. They're so demanding, and they're just a pain in the arse. But yeah, the fact that if you had 2 rooms, as you said, no bills to manage as well, no electric to worrying about the tenants doing too much electric, leaving the heating on, just the whole element of all of it that goes.
Yeah, and the other benefit is the second room has no minimum size requirement. So that box room that you can't normally do anything with in an HMO, that's your second room. And you know, the 2 up, 2 downs that have that weird room that you have to go through the bedroom to get to that second room almost. There's like almost a little box at the back. Yeah, that's fine. That can class as a tenant's 2 rooms.
Okay, yeah.
So as long as it's got heating and a window, it can class as a room. So in those 2 up, 2 downs, you've got it there straight away. So all of a sudden you're getting like 2 lots of 1-bedroom non-shared rates in a small little terrace 2-bed. And in a buy-to-let format, 2 squared will almost double what you bring in countrywide on a standard single let.
So can you do it with 2 beds, or do you need 3 bedrooms?
You need 2 times 2 rooms.
Yeah, so if it's a 2-bedroom with a dining room, I guess you can do it that way. Or if it's
yeah, again, they don't need communal space because the second room is their communal space each. Yep. So they just have to obviously be able to access the kitchen and bathroom.
Yeah, it seems appealable. I can picture it in my property straight away. We done it years ago. Just with one. This was a household, so the daughter was claiming as well. So we just put them on 2 separate claims. But yeah, I can see it with mine. Like literally, typical rent for me is $550. Benefits is 500. So if I do have housing benefits, it's 500 for a single let. That same hat for a single tenancy, I think they get 365. So you're looking at just £710. So that's going to double my income. It's not quite doubling the rent, but it's going to double my income of profit, you know, minus the mortgage. So yeah, it's quite an interesting concept. Yeah,
it's a little complicated. People get a little bit worried about it, but most of it, to be quite honest with you, ring Universal Credit. They have a helpline. If you say, look, I'm looking at housing, 2 people, I've heard we can do this, what's the process? They will talk you through it.
Yeah, interesting model, and I like it because you always talk about less stress, and definitely that's why I do like single lets. We do tend to get decent. We always get exceptional reward, but where we filter really well, we tend to get decent families with a lot less hassle. There is still a little bit, but a lot less. But this is what I say to people. That so many people. I was in a clubhouse the other week, and somebody talked about SAs. I said, "There's so much more hassle with it. You just manage it out to somebody else." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you still got to be on top of that manager."
Yeah.
And everybody goes through a growth period as well in their company. They might be great now because they're so great, they get loads of business, and then one of their members of staff leave, and then they scale up a little bit, and the member of staff leaves because they're so stressed, and then all of a sudden under pressure, and your property's unperforming. It still lands on you to some.
What's the manager doing when we go into lockdown? They're not paying. They're not paying your monthly mortgage or your rent that you've agreed to. It's like they haven't got their name on that contract, especially with rent to rent. It worries me because I've fallen foul of it with SA before myself. We took on a block of 6, and people don't realise that commercial lease that you're signing, you must pay until the end of it unless the landlord is nice enough to let you out of it, and most won't because they can't be bothered.
Yeah,
and people go, well, I could get out. I've got a 1-year break. Well, brilliant, but you've also got a shit ton of furniture you've just spent a load of money on that you're then going to have to lose. So it's not low stress or low input because you're potentially agreeing to paying that lease for the life of it. And
also with rent to rents, the way I see it, I'm not knocking rent to rents. I think every strategy works if you focus on them, but there's trade-offs for each different strategy. And rent to rent, you're theoretically becoming a property manager. Not most rent to rents haven't got enough meat in them to hire a property manager as well, so you have to be the property manager. So yeah, that's a trade-off. You're going to be busy, you know. If you take on a big portfolio of rent to rent, the trade-off is you're going to be busy. You're going to have a lot higher turnover, a lot more stresses. Same as SAs are more profitable without a shadow of doubt, but the trade-off is you got turnover, people partying in them, and turnovers and cleaners, make sure the cleaners turn up and the handymen turn up, and much more moving parts. So yeah, there's always a trade-off to different things. Like you said, I rent to the guaranteed rents and I get lower rent. But I get the fact that the trade-off is I'm a lower rent, but I don't have to worry about it. So that, for me, you have to weigh it up. Everybody's got different things they want, but so many people just chase the strategy for the income. And I've got this as well. What you were saying earlier on, I made a note of this, networking. When I first went networking, I stopped in the end. And I do network every now and again, but I network till I do what I need to do, and then I build on the networks I've got. Because if you constantly keep networking all the time and finding new people, you're never going to get anything done. But also, what I used to find at the network events was I'd go 1 month and somebody's talking about SAs. I'd go next month, someone's talking about SA using SASs and using this and doing this and doing that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. Then you go next month, somebody else talk about saying. And that's exactly what you said in the
same with books. It's the same with books, actually, mate, because what I was finding, and I find a lot of people do, is they'll for instance, marketing or social media or whatever, you can go and listen to loads of people who have completely different ideas on how to grow a following and how to make money in social media. And if you listen to all the books before you implement it, you'd be all over the place. Yeah. So for me, Daniel Priestley, the king, I'll just re-listen to his books every month. I'll re-listen to it. I was lucky enough to interview him. Oh, what a book. I was lucky enough to interview him on our podcast, actually. And that was the first time I've been a little bit like starstruck by it and a bit nervous for the interview because he's just an absolute legend. But yeah, I mean, that is all I'll do because it has all the information I need in it. But depending on where I am in my journey or what I'm needing, depends on what I'll listen to. So there's another one. Oh, what's his name? Something about, I can't remember his name. But when I was building my Facebook group, and you want to build, you're going to remember his name. It's all about having 1,000 super fans. It's called. What's his name?
Seth Godin.
No, I'll have to get it because it's worth everyone knowing what this book is. And I've listened to it 3 times, maybe 4 times, and I'll listen to it again because you'll always miss stuff. And depending on where you are, you might be through the first chapter where you are with your group, and then you're like, okay, well, how do I up that? And now we can go to events. Okay, well, maybe I'll start running events. Listen to that book. How do I make sure that the guys that are in my Facebook group get enough, feel like they're worthy, and they get extras for being part of that group? And yeah, I always just say that to everyone. Find someone you like listening to. Pat Flynn, super fan is called.
I'm what's that? Yeah, I'll exactly what my method is with books and everything. I will read a subject, find the person I like. Daniel Priestley, I went to some of his events and done some of the like training stuff with him, and I find the people I like, and exactly that. I read a few so I can triangulate, so I can get a few points of view, and then I find the one I like, and I try and like. You
have to trust them. That's the thing. People like reading books, but they never implement them, which is pointless. You'll grow some knowledge, but you'll be talking about knowledge based on a book that you're regurgitating rather than stuff you've actually implemented. Yep. So if you can just, like you say, find someone you like, listen to it as many times as you need to actually implement the stuff that you're learning from it. Because when you implement, you have to have trust in that person. So then when you go to somebody else and listen to them who have completely opposing views and different ideas, you're going to be almost offended by it because your guy says completely different, and you'd argue against that author then because you're so like involved and you've got results from the implementation of that book that you're going to go, well, no, because I did this and this is the result I've got from it, rather than, yeah, that's right, even though Pat Flynn said that you shouldn't do that, because you haven't implemented it, you can't prove the results. So you end up just going backwards and forwards with all these different books. You know, as a rent-to-renter, I always used to go to agents to get deals, and I used to convert from single lets to HMOs. You go to another trainer, they'll teach you to go direct to vendor, and we only want already running HMOs. And there's going to be arguments for both. So you just have to pick your person and just make sure that you do trust them and you trust their advice and it works for you, and then just go all in on it.
Yeah, Daniel Priestley says it in, I can't remember what book it is. It might be 24 Assets. He said pick one book and pick one sort of book and style. Let's go deep on that as opposed to reading loads and loads. I've done a bit of two, but what I do is my methodology with this is, if I want to find out about marketing, I'll read a few marketing books. I find the one that resonates with me. The last one that resonated with me is Russell Brunson's stuff and the .com secrets, expert secrets. And I just went deep on them for the last 6 months, where I was putting together a webinar and all this stuff and going online training. That's all I've been on. That's it. I've been trying to look for a coach in this side of my business. When I'm speaking to people, I'm saying to them, have you took this methodology? Because I've done a load of Russell's online training there, but what I want somebody's in person to help me go to that next level. And if you haven't done Russell stuff, I'm not interested in finding a new way and a new strategy and starting from scratch again. And your strategy definitely works, but I'm on a path now. It's implementing, it's working. I just want to take to the next level with somebody. But funny enough as well, look, my last book I listened to, I only finished it 2 days ago, is Key Person of Influence.
So mate, like I say, I reckon 3 or 4 times I've listened to that book.
I'll probably listen to that, probably about, I ain't going to say it because it sounds like I'm just going to try and beat you on the number of times. I've listened to it quite a few times, and I've read it. I'm a slow reader. I don't often read a book more than once, and I've read it more than once. But all these books, 24 Assets, oversubscribed, lovely stuff. As I said, went and done some training with him, went to loads of his events. Really, really just love his concept and his stuff. And it's just so relevant. And as you said, I re-listened to Key Person of Influence the other day purely for that reason. I'm in a different point in my journey now. I knew there's going to be bits that resonate with me. Like, I'm just getting published. I didn't do the publishing part when I first went with him. I was a bit scared, to be fair. So I'm getting published at the moment. I'm going through other elements. I was like, right, I need to get
That's the thing, your mindset, you will skim over stuff and you won't retain anything that's not relevant to you at that time. So if you're talking about writing a book when all you want to do is start on social media, that's going to be so far ahead of what you can actually retain almost in your brain. Your brain can't fathom the fact that you may write a book one day. So all you bring in is that start bit. So that's what I love about it. It's like watching your favorite film. You find a new funny quote from your favorite film every time you watch it. And it's the same with books. You just pick up that one little nugget and you're like, shit, I didn't even realize he said that. I've listened to this so many times, and yet that bit is so relevant for me now. And that was what Pat Flynn's Superfans did for me when I was building my academy, getting the Facebook group really going. Was like, how can I give more value to the people that follow me and to the people that like me and are involved in the community? How can I give them more and make them part of my business, not just someone who buys shit from me? I want them to be part of the success and feel like valued within it and feel like it's almost their business as well. Yeah,
I love that. My methodology with books, though, is usually if I've got a subject like marketing, I'll study that, I'll find out one person, I'll just keep reviewing back to that, and then I'll just go into something completely different. And I say to people, look, study what you want to study. If it's property, read a few different ones, find what you want, pick the person you want out of that. So you've got a triangulation view, so you're just not getting indoctrinated by just one person, but find the person you resonate after reading a few, then just like drill down, double deep on that. And then, but don't stop reading or learning, but learn something different. So then what I'll do then is, like with my marketing, I just drill down with the .com secrets and just listen to it, read it. And I've done that for about just over 6 months, but kept on going back over them and getting to a different point. Right, I need that implementation now. But then in the meantime, I wasn't not still learning, but I might learn something about my mindset on neuroscience or I'd read a biography. So I didn't stop reading and stuff, but I just didn't stop. I just read a bit more not specific, just to expand myself rather than implement something. So I just kept with that point where I implemented. And similar again, if it's my health, I'll read something. experimenting with our health, and then I'll stop somewhere else and I'll just go around in a circle and your health and all these different things with that. But yeah, love them views. I know you've got to get off, mates. Did you say you have to be off? We're over the time. You said you have to be off.
Yeah, it's only a team meeting, mate.
Only a team meeting. Okay. It's been brilliant. I've got a couple of final questions. This leads into it. Missed a few out. I always go in a different direction. I expected them. Let's get these questions up.
Can always do a part 2, mate.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely get on again and do this, and we'll definitely stay in touch. I know that's for sure. Final questions though is, what is the most influential? This probably you might have answered this just now, but it's the most influential book that you've read that is not property direct, like it's not a property book, but had the most positive impact on your property journey?
Bit of a curveball for you. Curtis Jackson.
I just finished it, literally. I am had that as well. I literally just finished it. Hustle Hard, Hustle Harder, whatever it is.
Yeah, what is it called?
Hustle Smart, Hustle Harder. See ya. Literally just finished it.
That's it, yeah. Honestly, it was yeah, that's it. I'm an audiobook man, so I just listen to everything. I like to tell everybody that I listen to it on 2 times speed. It's massive, like really unexpected as well. The amount of like gems that he tells you about based on actual experience is just amazing. So yeah, that would be one, definitely. I've only read it once, so I'm due to read that again. But so many that you almost forget about. But yeah, generally speaking, that as a sort of non-property one. And another curveball actually for everyone, rather than giving you the boring usual ones, in terms of motivation specifically, is The Decision by Kevin Hart.
Oh, okay. What, the actor?
The comedian, yeah.
He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal businessman.
His book is all about motivation, basicly, but he breaks it down into little, well, he makes up his own words for things and stuff like that, and it's a good laugh to listen to, as you can imagine. But it's really good in terms of keeping motivation, ignoring other people. Wicked book.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that, definitely. I read at night time. I like reading biography. Like this for me is not such business minded where it sparks. Like, it's not like reading a marketing book where I'm like, oh, I need to implement that. I need to implement that. It gives you a lot of value. So I read them sorts of books at night time as my sort of wind down. I listen to audios in the daytime rather than read. But my favourite thing from this book, I posted it yesterday, funny enough, was when he said he's bought Ferraris, he's bought enough cars, Rolls Royces to fill up a garage. He's bought all the chains. He bought one of the most opulent mansions in America. He bought Tyson's house, which cost him $70,000 a month just to maintain, with air conditioning.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But he said the most expensive thing he's ever spent is his time, and I love that. Time's number one on my values as well, so it really resonated with me. And yeah, it's true. You really got to be just careful with your time. He said, and that resonated with him with Eminem one day. He's like, let's go and do another tour. And he's like, listen, I've got a little daughter, and we was talking about this where you've got a son, and you said it earlier on, like, it's got to be worth my time because you just don't get that back. And yeah, that was my favourite part of the book, but there was loads of value in that book. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, 100%. Really surprised as well. It's always good.
Sorry?
Always like being surprised, and you sort of get something amazing out of a book that you would just thinking would just be a biography. He was quite different, and there were so many lessons within his book. You expected it to be just about his rap career, but there were so many business lessons. Yeah, I really liked it. Final question then is, I would like you to say the first thing that comes to your mind now without overthinking this. Describe in one word what you want from life. Freedom.
So I've got a little mission thing. I called it figuring out happy. And when you look at what happiness is, I feel everybody in life really, what they want, whatever angle it is, it leads towards happiness. We all want to be happy. Freedom gives you that. So I studied happy as well, which is linked to it. And freedom does come under that. If you Google it and you look at the things on there. And happiness on a scientific level is basically just, we're chemical beings, you know, so it's just getting that chemical balance in our bodies right. But you can study this and learn how to be happier. And when you study, there's a great book called The Happiness Advantage. And when you study like positive psychology, not BS psychology, like giving the affirmation saying, I'm happy, when your subconscious brain's going, fuck off, you're not happy, you're a miserable fuck. Or you're going, I'm rich. And you go, no, I just looked at my bank account 2 minutes ago. I ain't got a penny in there. It's not like BS positive psychology, but if you can learn how to reframe your mind into positive thinking, it's like when you're in a better mood, the little challenges you have in life bounce off of you. And they've studied this on science. Your relationships, your businesses, your careers, whatever you do in life, if you've got a positive mindset, not happy and everything's happy ever after, you've got a realism mindset, you understand there's ups and downs, you will perform better in all elements of life. So in my mind, it's like, why is everybody not concentrating on understanding how they perform themselves? Because that will then lead into whatever they put that energy into afterwards, getting the best performance out of that. So my mission is to try and everybody a bit more self-aware around there.
I was going to say awareness is the biggest thing, and I don't know, I'm sure it was a book that I read where someone said you're like a child. If you're in a bad mood, you see a child crying, put a lollipop in front of them and they're laughing and smiling. You can change just like them, except we let things fester. So I'll almost have a internal conversation with myself sometimes. Like I'll be driving and I'll almost have an angry face. I'm like, almost say to myself, why am I pissed off? And it'll be like, oh, well, that bloke cut you up, or, you know, something so irrelevant. And you're almost like, ridiculous. Why am I letting that affect my mood right now? And I'm stewing over something that is been and gone and irrelevant. And I'm almost got the ability to kind of go, right, well, just don't be in a bad mood then. And when you tell yourself I'm not in a bad mood anymore, and you just crack on with normal things and like try and smile a bit more, or just go and do something that you enjoy or whatever, it's amazing how quickly you forget completely that you're in a bad mood. A lot of people kind of almost focus on that thing more. They almost enjoy being in a bad mood, which is weird. I always try as much as possible. I know sometimes you have to stew and you have to be pissed off and you have to have that time, but generally speaking, it's irrelevant small stuff that you're getting pissed off and ruin the rest of your day. For sure. And it's choice. Awareness. My values, number one's time and number two is awareness. And I was with number one and number two, I was really toying what should be number one. And it's closely been in my head today, but that self-awareness is key. And exactly that, it is a choice. You can, like, there's pattern interruption loops that you can interrupt that pattern of it. And it's understanding we've all got an internal dialogue that is not us. Like none of us want to be unhealthy. None of us want to not earn the money we want to have. But there's an internal dialogue that drags us away from that. And the more we can understand that, the more we can understand our mind and the positive psychology methods behind that, the better we're going to get on in life. So I feel, why is this not the number one thing people are getting taught? You know, if you get taught this first, the other things you want will fall into place a lot easier. Not easy, but a lot easier than they would without that, you know. So it's my mission. I call it figuring out happy. I feel, but the thing is, it's a constant lifelong quest as well. What made you happy 3 years ago is very different now. You've got a 2-year-old son, you know, and it'll be different when he's 5, and it'll be different if you have a second kid, and be different with your exercise. And when you get a bit older, you have to slightly tweak it all the time, you know. And when you've got a bigger team or you've got a smaller team, it's always an evolution. And people don't always think there's some sort of destination where you're happy ever after, and it's not. It's just a lifelong journey. That's why I called it Figure Out Happy. And I think the awareness is the key to it, and I'd like to make more people self-aware of it. Love it. Yeah, totally agree.
Jack, this has been an absolute pleasure, mate. Really been enjoying getting to know you better, mate. Let's stay in touch. Let's maybe do a round 2 as well. And where does everybody find you? What you're doing? What's your coaching programs like? Tell everybody they can work with you. How can people buy properties from you? Yeah, there we go. So social media, just Jack Wicks UK on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook's just Jack Wicks. But yeah, just reach out on social. Any questions on stuff I can help you with, I'm always happy to help out, to answer questions. And yeah, if anyone's interested in deals, just DM me. And with our coaching program, same thing, just give us a DM. The link's in my bio for the coaching program if anyone's interested in learning about the 2 squared methodology. Yeah. Yeah, just reach out on socials, really. Fantastic, Jack. It's been a pleasure, and have a great day, mate. Lovely. Cheers, Harvey. Cheers, mate. Catch you later.